Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be starting the new Dimensions and Entropy. This is the, of course, the all chaos version they just added. This is the first here. The gimmick here is mostly all these enemies are just immune to, or heavily resistant rather, to magic damage. They don't have any elemental absorptions or anything. They do have a couple assorted weaknesses. They're vulnerable to most of the debuffs. The main thing that's a real risk here is they have a lot of strong area brave attacks that they're going to follow up with really big HP attacks. So I brought Warrior of Light here to help mitigate that. Squall, of course, is my damage dealer because you need to use a physical attacker for this. And Lillisette is coming along because they're actually vulnerable to debuffs, so she should be a pretty solid support. I'm bringing Ifrit along as my summon choice. I may end up losing the Blessing from just random HP damage, or from taking a big bang from the fire guy. But that's okay. I'm really bringing it mostly to help me blow up the King Behemoth because he's weak to fire. I think that's really the most dangerous enemy in the final wave, so I'm bringing that to deal with him. Okay, so early on here, of course, the goal is primarily to just get your buffs up. I targeted B because he's the one I can break first. Okay. Now, B is actually going to perform an HP attack here if he doesn't go down, so hopefully this is enough to kill him, and it is. Now, that HP attack's not going to hit very hard, but an extra 1,000 damage is an extra 1,000 damage, and the HP conditional looks high at 10k. These enemies do a lot of HP damage, so don't assume that that's going to save you. Alright, so again, targeting B because that's the first one to break for a good break order. And I should be able to take them all out with a Whirling Edge. Alright, so this wave does a couple of things. First of all, the big one, of course, keeps growing until it is at full size, and then it uses a very nasty attack combo. It'll rain meteors for some brave damage, and then it will follow that with Big Bang, which is a massive self-battery HP attack. The other thing they do is you can see C is actually targeting the middle one right now. They can give each other brave, which is actually really obnoxious. So keep in mind they can do that. Lillisette's sap is going to help mitigate some of that danger there. So I'm going to probably open... I'm actually not. So here's the issue. I want to slow them first. But also her EX will be up next turn. I think I'm going to use Sensual Dance instead of her EX. The reason is I really want to get those debuffs in place first. Alright, so anytime Squall has some Brave, I'm usually going to use his HP plus rather than a skill. The exception being this turn when I can use his EX. Now, it looks like I'm doing pretty respectable damage to this thing. That is going to change very quickly once its defense starts rising. It gets incredibly high, so... Alright, so as you can see, her EX is up. I'm going to go ahead and use Sensual Dance instead. It leaks a little brave, but I need those debuffs, so... Now I'm focusing all of my damage on the middle one. The only exception might be if I really need to Brave Shave one of the side ones. So for example, you see A is targeting C, which could be problematic. You can throw one of Squall's Renzokukens at one of the side ones, because the HP damage is still going to splash to all of them. So that was a lucky dodge. It would have been okay if it had hit. Warrior of Light will generate enough healing with Shining Shield to get to the HP conditional at the end. So I'm using a lot of HP pluses on Squall early on here. That's because I'm trying to conserve some of his skills for when the defense goes up. Alright, so I have to break this thing now while it's giant, or he's going to perform his big attack. Squall has a turn, that won't be a problem, but you can see its defense is already getting high enough to mitigate quite a lot of damage. So he'll shrink back one size. He's just going to keep doing that again and again, though. He'll keep growing and then dropping that attack. So you got to keep breaking him. Eventually, I will probably get a turn where he is blown up in size and Squall doesn't get a turn in time, and I will take a hit at that point. As long as he has fairly low brave when that happens, it shouldn't be lethal, and that's all that matters, is that it doesn't kill someone. So I didn't bother using a skill on Lillisette because Squall was going to have to use a skill to break the middle one. Okay, so Shining Wave is ready, but also Shining Shield is not on my side people. So I need to reapply that first. It's much more important. And at this point, when its defense is this high, having some Brave before his EX doesn't go to waste. The overflow is good. He'll just not hit hard enough to take advantage of it himself. So this is problematic. It's already broken. When it is already broken, there's no way to stop it from using Big Bang. Now, I may have just lucked out here. As long as Squall can do the damage to break it, I will be okay. So I'm starting to get a little low on abilities here. I'm actually going to use a Brave Plus. Now the other danger here is the side guys lost their debuffs, so yes, that means Squall's going to leak a little Brave. I still think that was the better play, since they're both going to be targeting him on the side. That's alright. This will make his HP plus hit fairly hard. Okay, so killing the side ones is good. They will not despawn when it dies the first time around. If he summons them back, I think they will die along with him if I kill the boss then. But the first set will not. You do actually have to finish them off, so killing them there was not a bad thing. Okay, so that worked out. So he did not actually get to do an HP attack. If he had done it once and it wasn't lethal, Warrior of Light does do enough damage to offset that. So Squall's EX is ready. I'm actually just going to go ahead and throw it at an enemy. This one's doing the all attack that is an HP attack, so let's kill him first. May seem a little silly to use his EX on it, but since it's up, it's the same as using an ability. It'll save a couple of turns. Yes, a Renzo would have been more turn efficient, but I want to save them for the final wave. Alright, so on this wave, I really think the King Behemoth is much more dangerous. Guy on the right here, he's going to do some group Brave attacks, but he mostly has some nasty single target attacks. He can delay, he can do a lot of damage, he can do an HP attack, but that's it. It's much less dangerous than the very significant area Brave damage and HP damage that's going to come out of the King Behemoth once he builds up. So I'm going to be focusing more of my damage on the left guy. Okay, so just taking a look at Squall's buffs. Solid Barrel's probably the way to go here. Alright, I'm going to just use a Throw Buckler on him because the other one's already targeting Warrior of Light. Throw a Shining Wave, get Squall's HP back to full. And since Squall's buffs haven't fallen off yet, I don't really need to use a Renzo. I can probably do that next turn. So I don't want to rush into using a Sensual Dance, because B is going to buff himself in a couple of turns here, and I like to be able to push his debuffs off. That said, I'm not really sure there's a better play this turn. Squall's probably going to use a Renzo to rebuff, so I can probably just use an HP+. Okay, so actually Squall's EX is up instead, so I'm going to use that. Alright, it's probably a good time to reapply Shining Shield to everyone. Gonna use her EX on this guy just to break him. Alright, go ahead and lock him on to Warrior of Light as well. And we'll get Squall's attack buff back on. Now, something you need to be careful of with Warrior of Light is don't let everyone's Shining Shields get down to like one turn before you reapply them. If he gets hit by the breath attack from A here, it's going to delay him really far, especially if it scores a break. You don't want to be in a situation where you thought you could reapply it to protect your team, and now all of a sudden you can't. So that can get really dangerous. Just looking at ability uses, I'm going to use this now. It's a little early to apply it for the attack buff, but I don't want to be in a situation where like I'm summoning and don't have my Renzos left or something like that. So I'm just using it now to be safe. And so that's exactly what I'm talking about. You can see just how much that delayed Warrior of Light. He's not even on the screen anymore. And this is probably the first Lightning Lash is about to come out right now. I should be safe, so I'm just going to go ahead and use his EX. If I felt like I was in danger there, I would have summoned instead. Okay, now, if that had actually broken someone, he would be using either Gyro Tail next turn, or possibly Meteor. He's got... The Behemoth has two pretty nasty HP attacks, and they both just generate Brave. So it's actually kind of tough to deal with him if things go poorly. So this is really the turn I want to summon. Now I'm going to use Renzo Kukins with Squall during this because it's going to splash damage to both. I'm going to be targeting the left one because he is weak to fire, so I can do some very nice damage with it. So even though his defenses are high, that's still going to be the strongest thing I can do to him, I think. Because the weakness damage. If I wasn't hitting weakness, it might actually be better to aim at A, because his defense would be lower. Alright, so since Warrior of Light has a turn, I'm going to go ahead and use a Shining Shield. And this, I'm actually going to go ahead and throw at A, because he can break. And he has a lot of health. And now let's see if Squall can finish him off. Okay. So now it's just making sure I don't take an inopportune Brave Break. This should help. As long as I don't take a Brave break, he shouldn't have enough Brave that I have to worry about not being able to shave it off. Squall, of course, is almost out of abilities, so that could be very dangerous if that were to happen. So I'm going to go just slightly more conservative here. I'm going to make sure he's slowed. And I need to do a throw buckler here to pull him back to Warrior of Light. Especially because of this. It missed, but I don't want it aiming at Squall at all. That will just probably derail this entire run. It'll just add a ton of turns to it. Hitting Warrior of Light, not really a big deal. So I can see his health is actually going down a little faster than I expected. I'm just going to go all out with my last two abilities. Just to be on the safe side, I'm using that instead of a Whirling Edge. Didn't do enough damage to be a problem, that's great. Alright, and there's the perfect. Alright, thanks for watching, and come back soon for the next videos as I beat them. And good luck clearing these yourself.